The Last Stand. The Battle Above Earth. Captain Sarah Chen gripped the armrests of her command chair as another explosion rocked the bridge of the EDF Valiant. Through the main view screen, she watched helplessly as 3 more human vessels disappeared in brilliant flashes of light. The Hegemony Alliance fleet stretched across space like a dark ocean, their massive warships blotting out the stars. "Captain, we've lost the Wellington and the Yorktown," reported Lieutenant James Park from the tactical station. His young voice cracked with barely controlled fear. "That leaves us with only 12 ships operational." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment. When this battle began 6 hours ago, they had 53 vessels defending Earth. Now their entire defense force could barely fill a parade formation. The alien armada facing them numbered over 1,000 ships, each one larger and more advanced than anything humanity had ever built. "Signal all remaining vessels," Sarah ordered. "Maintain defensive positions around Earth. We don't retreat." On the bridge of the Hegemony flagship Dominion, Admiral Vex Tar watched the human resistance with something approaching amusement. His elongated skull gleamed under the bridge lights, and his 4 arms moved gracefully as he gestured to his subordinates. The Hegemony had conquered 47 species across the galaxy, and humans were proving to be the most stubborn yet. "Look at them," Vex Tar said to his tactical officer, a creature resembling a walking mantis. 12 primitive vessels against our entire fleet. Do they truly believe they can win? "The humans are known for their irrational behavior, Admiral," the mantis-like being replied. "Perhaps they are simply too stupid to surrender." Vex Tar studied the human ships through his sensors. Their technology was crude compared to Hegemony standards. Metal hulls instead of energy-resistant alloys. Chemical propulsion instead of quantum drives. Projectile weapons instead of plasma cannons. It was almost sad how outmatched they were. "Open a channel to their flagship," Vex Tar commanded. Sarah's face appeared on the main screen of the Dominion. She looked tired but defiant, her dark hair pulled back in a military bun, her uniform wrinkled from hours of combat. Behind her, the bridge of the Valiant showed obvious battle damage. "Human Captain," Vex Tar began, his voice carrying the authority of countless victories. "I am Admiral Vex Tar of the Hegemony Alliance. Your resistance is pointless. Surrender now, and your species will be granted the honor of serving the greater galactic order." Sarah met his gaze without flinching. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Here's our answer." The communication channel cut out just as the human ships opened fire again. Their primitive kinetic weapons sent metal slugs racing through space toward the Hegemony line. The projectiles struck energy shields and armor plating, causing minimal damage but maximum irritation. The desperate gambit. On the bridge of the EDF Resolute, Commander Marcus Torres studied his tactical display with growing desperation. As the second-ranking officer in what remained of Earth's fleet, he knew the mathematics of their situation better than most. At their current rate of attrition, they had perhaps 2 hours before complete annihilation. "Commander," called Ensign Lisa Reeves from the communication station. "I'm picking up some strange readings from deep space. Sensors are showing energy signatures unlike anything in our database." Torres frowned. "Hegemony reinforcements?" "No, sir. The signatures don't match their technology. It's something else entirely." Before Torres could respond, Captain Chen's voice crackled over the emergency channel. "All ships, this is Valiant. We're down to 8 vessels. Prepare for final assault pattern Alpha. We're going to ram as many of their ships as we can." Torres felt his heart sink. Final assault pattern Alpha was exactly what it sounded like, a suicide run. Every remaining human ship would accelerate at maximum burn toward the enemy fleet, hoping to take down a few alien vessels before being destroyed. "Wait," Ensign Reeves called out, her voice filled with excitement. "Commander, you need to see this. I'm detecting multiple ships emerging from hyperspace, but they're not using conventional jump drives." On the main screen, space itself seemed to shimmer and bend. Then, like ghosts materializing from the void, ships began to appear. But these weren't hegemony vessels or any known alien design. They were human ships, but unlike any that currently existed in Earth's fleet. The first vessel to fully materialize was massive, easily dwarfing the largest human battleship. Its hull was a deep gray color, covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays that belonged to no current Earth technology. Along its side, barely visible in the starlight, were faded letters. UES Phantom. "My God," Torres whispered. "That's impossible." More ships continued to appear. A sleek destroyer with unusual energy signatures. A carrier whose fighter bays glowed with an eerie blue light. Cruisers and frigates, each one bearing human design elements, but incorporating technology that shouldn't exist. The legend awakens. Admiral Vextar stared at his sensor displays in confusion. His tactical officer was chittering nervously, mandibles clicking as it processed the impossible data. "Admiral, we're detecting 37 new vessels," the creature reported. "They appear to be human in origin, but their technology signatures are anomalous." "Human reinforcements?" Vextar asked. "That's impossible. Our intelligence indicated this was their entire fleet." "Sir, these ships don't match any known human designs. Some of their weapon signatures are showing energy levels beyond current human capabilities." Before Vextar could respond, his communications officer announced an incoming transmission. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the mysterious flagship. The woman who appeared wore a uniform unlike any current Earth military service. Her hair was silver white, and her eyes held a depth that spoke of experiences beyond normal human understanding. "This is Captain Elizabeth Morgan of the UES Phantom," she said, her voice carrying an authority that made even Vextar pause. "You are ordered to withdraw from Earth space immediately." Vextar found his composure quickly. "I don't know what trickery this is, human, but 30 ships cannot defeat 1,000. Captain Morgan smiled, and there was something unsettling about the expression. "Admiral, you clearly don't understand human military history. We've been winning impossible battles for centuries. Today won't be any different." "Impossible battles?" Vextar scoffed. "Your species has barely reached the stars. What could you possibly know of real warfare?" "More than you realize," Morgan replied. "Tell me, Admiral, have you ever heard of the Battle of Thermopylae? The Alamo? Orcs Drift? Humans have a long tradition of standing against overwhelming odds." The communication ended, and immediately the Phantom fleet began moving. But they didn't advance in any formation Vextar recognized. Instead, they seemed to fade in and out of normal space, appearing and disappearing like mirages. First contact with the impossible. Captain Chen watched in amazement as the mysterious human ships engaged the hegemony fleet. The lead vessel, the Phantom, seemed to phase through enemy fire before unleashing weapons that tore through alien shields like they were made of paper. "Captain," Lieutenant Park called out, his voice filled with wonder. "I'm reading energy signatures from those ships that are off the charts. Their weapons are using principles our science teams can barely theorize about." One of the Phantom destroyers materialized directly behind a hegemony cruiser and fired a single shot. The alien vessel simply disintegrated, not exploding but breaking apart at the molecular level. Sarah opened a channel to the Phantom flagship. "Captain Morgan, this is Captain Chen of the Valiant. Where did you come from? How are your ships so advanced?" Morgan's face appeared on the screen, and Sarah noticed something strange about her eyes. They seemed to hold starlight within them. "Captain Chen, we've been waiting for this moment for a very long time," Morgan replied. "We are the ships that were lost, the vessels that disappeared in the void, the legends your people tell around campfires and in fleet academies." "That's impossible," Sarah said. "Ships don't just disappear and come back decades later with impossible technology." "Don't they?" Morgan asked. "The UES Phantom disappeared in 2387 while exploring the Veil Nebula. The destroyer Wraith vanished in the Kepler system in 2401. The carrier Spectre was lost near the galactic rim in 2419. "We are the Phantom Fleet, Captain. The ships that became legends because no one could explain where we went." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. She remembered some of those names from military history classes. Ships that had vanished without a trace, their disappearances becoming the stuff of naval mystery and legend. "But how did you get this technology?" Sarah asked. "When you're lost in the deep dark between stars, you learn things," Morgan said cryptically. "You discover that space holds secrets, that there are forces in the universe that can change matter and energy in ways your scientists never imagined." As if to demonstrate, the Phantom suddenly split into 3 identical copies of itself, each one engaging different hegemony vessels. The alien fleet found themselves fighting ghosts that could multiply phase through solid matter and strike with weapons that defied known physics. Admiral Vextar watched his fleet's tactical superiority evaporate in minutes. His ships were being picked apart by an enemy that refused to follow the rules of conventional warfare. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human flagship," he ordered desperately. 100 hegemony vessels turned their weapons on the Phantom, unleashing enough firepower to crack a moon. The energy beams and plasma bolts converged on the ghostly ship, creating a brilliant explosion that lit up the space around Earth. When the light faded, the Phantom remained untouched, as if the attack had passed through empty space. Captain Morgan's voice echoed across all frequencies, reaching every ship in both fleets. "Admiral Vextar, you're about to learn why humans don't stay down when you think you've beaten them. We don't just fight with ships and guns. We fight with hope, determination, and the power of legends made real." The Phantom Fleet spread out across the battlefield, and suddenly the hegemony found themselves facing not just 30 ships, but what appeared to be hundreds as the mysterious vessels continued to multiply and phase through space like living myths given form. For the first time in his military career, Admiral Vextar felt the cold touch of fear. Legends made real. The Fleet of the Lost. The battle around Earth transformed into something beyond conventional warfare. Admiral Vextar watched his tactical displays with growing horror as his 1,000-ship armada was systematically dismantled by vessels that shouldn't exist. The Phantom destroyer Wraith appeared inside the formation of 6 hegemony cruisers, its hull passing through their shields as if they were made of light. When it fired, the alien ships didn't just explode. They seemed to fold in on themselves, disappearing into points of impossible darkness. How are they doing this? Vextar demanded of his science officer, a floating creature of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell. "Admiral, their ships are operating on principles that violate our understanding of physics," the being replied, its voice like harmonious bells. "They appear to be manipulating space-time itself, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously." On the bridge of the Phantom, Captain Elizabeth Morgan stood before a command console that resembled no human technology ever built. Instead of buttons and screens, holographic interfaces responded to her thoughts, and the ship itself seemed to anticipate her commands. "Status report," she called to her crew. "All Phantom vessels operational, Captain," replied her first officer, Commander David Stone. Like Morgan, his appearance carried subtle differences from normal humans. His eyes held the same starlight quality, and his movements seemed to flow with unusual grace. "The hegemony fleet is down to 60% strength," reported Lieutenant Commander Maya Santos from the tactical station. "Their formations are breaking apart. They can't adapt to our phasing capabilities." Morgan nodded. The Phantom Fleet had learned much during their years lost in the deep void between realities. They had encountered forces and energies that existed outside normal spacetime, and those encounters had changed both their ships and themselves. The truth revealed. Captain Sarah Chen watched the impossible battle unfold while trying to understand what she was witnessing. Her communications officer managed to establish a stable link with several of the Phantom vessels, and what she learned challenged everything she thought she knew about space exploration. "Captain Chen," came a voice over the comm system. "This is Captain Robert Hayes of the UES Spectre. Good to see Earth's defenders still have fight in them." Sarah recognized the name from military history. Captain Hayes had commanded a deep space exploration vessel that vanished 15 years ago while investigating anomalous readings near the galactic rim. Captain Hayes, how is this possible? Your ship was lost with all hands in 2419. Hayes chuckled, and there was something both sad and wonderful in the sound. Lost might not be the right word, Captain. We were displaced, pulled into spaces between spaces where the normal rules don't apply. But your technology, your capabilities, none of this existed when you disappeared. When you spend years drifting through dimensions that shouldn't exist, you learn things. Hayes explained. We encountered beings of pure energy, civilizations that existed in quantum states, and forces that could reshape matter with thought alone. Some of them were hostile, but others taught us. Another voice joined the conversation, Captain Morgan from the Phantom. The void between realities is not empty, Captain Chen. It's full of wonders and horrors beyond imagination. We learned to survive there, to adapt our ships and ourselves to conditions that would destroy normal matter. Sarah felt a chill of understanding. You're saying you've been changed by whatever you encountered out there. We're still human, Morgan assured her. But we're something more now. We carry the knowledge of species that existed before your son was born. We've seen the birth and death of stars, the rise and fall of civilizations that spanned galaxies. The tide turns. Admiral Vextar found himself in an increasingly desperate situation. His fleet, which had conquered dozens of worlds and defeated every enemy the hegemony had faced, was being systematically destroyed by 30 ships that fought like living legends. The Phantom carrier Spectre launched fighters that looked like they were made of condensed starlight. These ethereal craft phased through hegemony defenses and struck with weapons that seemed to tear holes in reality itself. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, mandibles chattering with fear, we've lost over 400 ships. The Phantom vessels are multiplying faster than we can destroy them. That's impossible, Vextar snarled. Matter cannot be created from nothing. These aren't normal ships, the creature replied. They exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. When they appear to multiply, they're actually showing us different aspects of the same vessel across various planes of reality. Vextar stared at the tactical display. Red icons representing destroyed hegemony ships far outnumbered the remaining green ones. In all his years of conquest, he had never faced an enemy like this. Open a channel to the human flagship, he ordered reluctantly. Captain Morgan's face appeared on the main screen, serene and confident. Behind her, the bridge of the Phantom hummed with energies that made the air itself seem to shimmer. Admiral Vextar, Morgan said before he could speak. Are you ready to discuss terms? Terms. Vextar's pride flared. The hegemony does not negotiate with primitives. Morgan's expression didn't change. But around Earth, the Phantom fleet began to glow with an inner light that was visible even from thousands of kilometers away. Admiral, you've made a fundamental error in your understanding of humanity, Morgan said calmly. You see our ships, our technology, our numbers, and you think you understand us, but you don't comprehend what we truly are. She gestured, and the main screen split to show the bridges of other Phantom vessels. Each one was commanded by officers who bore the same strange, starlight-touched appearance. These are the crews of ships that were lost exploring the unknown, Morgan continued. The men and women who pushed beyond the edges of mapped space, who dared to venture into realms where physics breaks down and reality becomes fluid. We represent humanity's greatest strength, our refusal to accept limitations. The final assault. The Phantom fleet began to move in a coordinated pattern that defied military doctrine. Instead of maintaining formation, they seemed to dance through space, each ship flowing around the others like participants in some cosmic ballet. Commander Torres, watching from the bridge of the Resolute, saw something that made his breath catch. The Phantom ships weren't just moving randomly. They were forming symbols in space, ancient human sigils and constellations that had guided Earth's explorers for millennia. They're not just fighting, he whispered. They're telling our story. The formation shifted, and suddenly Taurus could see it clearly. The Phantom Fleet had arranged itself into the constellation of the Southern Cross, the same stars that had guided human navigators across Earth's oceans centuries before they ever reached space. Captain Morgan's voice echoed across all frequencies, reaching every ship in the system. Admiral Vextar, you came to Earth expecting to face primitive humans using crude technology. Instead, you found something else entirely. You found the embodiment of human determination made manifest. The Phantom ships began to glow brighter, their hulls becoming translucent as energy coursed through them. They were no longer simply vessels of war. They had become symbols of human resilience given physical form. We are the ships that refuse to stay lost, Morgan continued. We are the explorers who found ways to survive in impossible places. We are the proof that humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology or our numbers. It's our absolute refusal to give up. The remaining hegemony ships found themselves surrounded not by 30 vessels, but by hundreds. The Phantom Fleet had multiplied across multiple dimensions, creating a maze of shifting, phasing ships that struck from every direction at once. The hegemony's retreat. Admiral Vextar watched his proud armada reduced to less than 200 ships. The Phantom Fleet had demonstrated capabilities that his science officers couldn't even begin to explain. Ships that existed in multiple realities simultaneously, weapons that restructured matter at the quantum level, and crews that had somehow survived in the void between dimensions. All ships, he commanded, his voice heavy with defeat, begin withdrawal from Earth space. Admiral, his tactical officer protested, the hegemony has never retreated. The hegemony has never faced an enemy like this, Vextar replied grimly. These aren't just humans with advanced technology. There's something that shouldn't be possible, legends that have become real. As the hegemony fleet began its retreat, Captain Morgan opened one final communication channel. Admiral Vextar, she said, carry this message back to your leaders. Earth is under the protection of forces they cannot comprehend. We are the dreams of explorers made manifest, the hopes of the desperate given form. As long as humanity exists, there will always be those willing to venture into the unknown and return changed. The Phantom Fleet began to fade as the last hegemony ships jumped to hyperspace. But they didn't disappear entirely. They became translucent, existing at the edge of visibility like half-remembered dreams. The new Guardians. In the aftermath of the battle, Captain Sarah Chen found herself aboard the Phantom, meeting face-to-face with the legendary Captain Morgan. The ship's interior was unlike anything she had ever seen. Corridors that seemed to extend infinitely, rooms where the walls showed views of nebulae and distant galaxies, and crew quarters that existed in comfortable dimensions slightly larger than the ship itself should have been able to contain. How long will you stay? Sarah asked. Morgan smiled, her star-touched eyes reflecting depths of experience beyond normal human understanding. We'll remain as long as Earth needs us, but we won't interfere with humanity's natural development. We are guardians now, protectors who exist in the spaces between normal reality. And the crews of the lost ships, your people. We chose this path, Morgan replied. When we were pulled into the void, we could have tried to find our way home. Instead, we chose to learn, to adapt, to become something new. We knew that someday, Earth would face a threat it couldn't handle alone. We prepared ourselves to be the answer to that need. Sarah looked around the impossible ship, understanding finally that she was witnessing something beyond technology or science. The Phantom Fleet represented the power of human determination made manifest, the refusal to accept defeat even when lost in the depths of space. Will we see you again? She asked. Whenever humanity ventures too far into the dark and finds itself lost, Morgan promised, we'll be there. We are the part of your species that never stops exploring, never stops pushing boundaries, never stops believing that impossible things can be achieved. As Sarah returned to her own ship, she watched the Phantom Fleet fade into the space between realities. They remained visible just enough to know they were still there, still watching, still ready to emerge when humanity needed legends to become real. The galaxy had learned an important lesson that day. Underestimating human determination was the first step toward defeat, and somewhere in the void between dimensions, the Phantom Fleet continued its eternal patrol, carrying the dreams of exploration and the promise that no matter how lost humanity might become, there would always be those willing to find a way home.